Now, before I get into things, I'd like to warn you that this video will contain spoilers for Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade 3, and especially Future Redeemed. I highly recommend checking out these games and coming back once you have finished them. For those who already have, or if you just don't mind spoilers, welcome! Now, with that out of the way, ever since the announcement of Future Redeemed, one of, if not the most anticipated things about this entire DLC has been the fact that Alvis is here. After not having had a new story present since Xenoblade 1's original release over a decade ago, he is back in the form of Ontos. What I didn't expect though was that not just Ontos, but Pneuma and Logos as well, would all have been revealed to have secretly had a huge role in the entire overarching story of Xenoblade 3. If Future Redeemed left you with any questions about these three, whether it be about Matthew's gauntlets, how Logos connects to anything, or why Ontos acts the way they do and what their role means for the whole trilogy, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to be diving into a full analysis about everything these three have impacted now that we have the full context for Xenoblade 3. If you're interested in this kind of content and want to see more Xenoblade analysis from me, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. So anyways, Alvis. Where do I even begin with this one? As hinted at in the trailer, his significance is clear from the moment you start Future Redeemed. You're immediately greeted by Alpha, a noticeably different depiction of Alvis from his Xenoblade 1 counterpart. In order to understand his behavior here, it's important to consider the scene from the end of the DLC's Chapter 3. A explains that Ontos' role in the Trinity processor is that of an arbiter. What that means is that Ontos takes in input from both Pneuma and Logos and then has the authority to make final decisions based on the data gathered from them. With Pneuma and Logos gone in Xenoblade 3, Ontos is unable to gather input anymore and struggles to create their own. As a result, we see them go out of control and be left as a heartless machine, therefore creating the villainous Alpha. Now, you might be wondering, if losing Pneuma and Logos was all it took to create an Alpha situation, why exactly was Alvis fine in Xenoblade 1? Well, since Ontos remains at the center of both stories, the answer to this question is actually quite relevant for understanding his role in Xenoblade 3. While Alvis did not have the other two Trinity cores present, Xenoblade 1's world was fundamentally constructed in a way that imitated their roles, which was likely a result of Alvis being separated from the other two during its creation. Basically, power in Xenoblade 1's world is divided between Zanza as the god of Bionis, Maineth as the god of Mechonis, and Alvis as a more neutral but all-powerful figure. The Trinity made up of these three imitates the dynamic of the Trinity processor. While Zanza and Maineth stand at opposite sides, obtaining different data from their respective titans, Alvis stands in the middle, as the neutral and authoritative figure, directly paralleling his role as Ontos, the arbiter between Logos and Pneuma. Zanza and Maineth would be temporary stand-ins for Logos and Pneuma respectively, which allow Alvis to continue proper function. Xenoblade 1's overall story tells us a lot about the way Ontos' decision-making process works. Throughout the game, the world remains in an unstable state, to say the least. This is due to the fact that Zanza and Maineth are unable to form an agreement on what to do with the future of it. Zanza wishes to permanently continue his existence as a god, fearing death and therefore denying his people's right to their futures, since his existence depends on using them as food. He is opposed to any and all uncertainty, using visions to uphold total control. Meanwhile, Maineth accepts that her life is temporary and that it's okay to move on, wishing to entrust the future to her people. Due to their approaches contradicting each other, the input Alvis gathers from them cancels each other out, causing Alvis to be inactive and allow the world to continue stagnating. Everything changes when Zanza and Maineth's roles are passed down to Shulk and Fiora. Fiora inherits Maineth's power and Monado, being depicted with Maineth's red glow even after Maineth's passing, while Shulk directly overthrows Zanza. Unlike Zanza and Maineth, Shulk and Fiora are able to form a proper agreement on what to do with the world, with their choice being to move on to the future and live life as it comes. Shulk communicates their shared wish to Alvis, meaning that Ontos finally has a consistent input to use as the arbiter and therefore allowing Ontos to initiate the recreation of the world. To summarize, as soon as Ontos obtained proper input from figures reflecting Pneuma and Logos in the form of Shulk and Fiora, Ontos was able to act according to their choice and bring the world to its next stage. Keep this process in mind for later on in the video. I promise it's relevant. With that covered, it's time to move on to Xenoblade 3. What exactly happened to Pneuma and Logos this time? They appear to be gone, but the final boss encounter of Future Redeemed gives us another answer. At one point during the fight, Pneuma's core crystal becomes visible within Matthew's gauntlets. The most important detail here is that this happens the second the power of Ouroboros is unleashed, therefore allowing us to associate Pneuma's core crystal with Ouroboros as a whole. This actually explains quite a few things from the base game. Back in Chapter 7, Nia told us that she created the Ouroboros stones using a process of catalysis between Origin's metal and her own core crystal. Catalysis refers to the acceleration of a chemical reaction due to a catalyst being added. In the context of this game, Nia's core crystal would have reacted to a specific piece of Origin metal, which then sped up the creation of the Ouroboros stones. We know from the same scene that the data of all of the people from the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 was stored within Origin's metal. Putting this information together, Nia's core crystal resonated with the particular memories and souls stored within the piece of Origin metal that she was using. It is likely that that piece was the one that contained Pyra and Mithra's souls, who were among the people of data in Origin. Nia's core crystal would have reacted to Pyra and Mithra's data because of Nia's close bond with them through their relationship with Rex. That aside, using Pneuma would have been the most effective way to counter Alpha to begin with, as the reason things went wrong was directly due to the lack of Pneuma and Logos. It strategically makes the most sense to use this approach. With the stones complete, Nia then entrusted the power of Ouroboros to the people of the city. It was eventually passed down to Matthew, as he was a descendant of Nia's family line. Later on, when Matthew actually does manage to activate the true power of Ouroboros, the metal in his Ouroboros gauntlets breaks open to reveal the Pneuma core crystal, once again confirming the fact that it was Pneuma's data in the metal Nia used, and that Ouroboros as a whole was built from that core unit. The implications do not end here though. If you look closely at the camera work in the scene where Pneuma's core crystal is revealed, you will notice a heavy implication about Logos as well. The camera zooms in on Matthew's gauntlets, which glow the exact same color as Pneuma's core, and then the camera pans to N's sword, which glow the exact same color as Logos' core. Matthew's gauntlets then immediately open to reveal Pneuma's core, implying that Logos' core would have been exposed should the same thing have happened to N's sword. Later on in the same scene, Rex has a line directly to Ontos saying, "If it was them, I don't think they'd even bat an eye at helping," which is immediately followed by the camera once again panning to show N's sword and Matthew's gauntlets, further implying the presence of Logos and Pneuma. The color choices speak for themselves, and it also makes sense that Pneuma would respond to Logos, as N had directly activated Pneuma by using his own sword earlier. This allows us to associate Logos with Mobius, as that is the faction N represents, similar to how we learn that Ouroboros is associated with Pneuma. While N obtained his sword, and therefore the power of Logos, by becoming a true Mobius, Matthew obtained the power of Pneuma when becoming a true Ouroboros. The connection to these core units would also be why Mobius is consistently depicted with the color purple, while Ouroboros is always shown to be green, as these colors correspond to Logos and Pneuma's core units respectively. More importantly, it explains why Matthew is able to defeat Alpha at the end of Future Redeemed, as N joining him meant that the power of Pneuma and Logos was united against Ontos, allowing them to take Ontos down when even the combined strength of Shulk, Rex, and Zed didn't even stand a chance in the past. With all of this information, we can start to piece together what this all means for the overarching story of Xenoblade 3. Ionios has three key components in its power distribution: Origin, Mobius, and Ouroboros. A tells us in Future Redeemed that Origin was created using Ontos as its framework, which makes sense considering the fact that Origin is more of an arbiter that responds to the collective unconscious. The other two are a bit less neutral, as they are literally two opposing factions. On one hand, Mobius consists of people who allow the world to stagnate out of fear in their own desire to remain immortal, taking away others' futures in order to uphold the endless now. On the other hand, Ouroboros consists of people who accept the uncertain and temporary nature of life, fighting to reclaim their own futures. The duality between Ouroboros and Mobius creates a situation where the input for Origin is split. This is likely why Origin always fails to activate properly, as Ontos, the blueprint for Origin, requires proper input to function. Even if N had decided to side with Matthew at the end of Future Redeemed, he made it clear that he did not actually share Matthew's ideals, and he was just there to deal with an immediate threat. As a result, Origin remains unable to move the world to its next stage, as Logos and Pneuma once again provide contradictory input. This entire scenario is a direct parallel to what I described in the context of Xenoblade 1. Zanza and Mobius both seek control and immortality out of fear of uncertainty, aligning with Logos. Maineth and Ouroboros both embrace uncertainty in order to move on to the future, aligning with Pneuma. Alvis and Origin are both all-powerful machines enabled by Ontos, which let the world remain in stagnation due to the divided wills of the other two. However, this is only the beginning, both in terms of the story and the parallels. Fast forward to the base game of Xenoblade 3. Noah's sword sheath is implied to be descended from Matthew's gauntlets. They are both made with the same colors and material, and Noah's sheath can transform into a gauntlet, similar to Matthew. Noah's sword is also titled the Sword of the End, which paired with the fact that N referred to Matthew's gauntlets as the, Fists of the End, would confirm that they are in fact the same. Noah's sword also shares the green glowing light, again hinting that Pneuma's core is still present. In other words, Pneuma would have actually been with us from within Noah's sword throughout the entirety of the base game. Just like Future Redeemed, Pneuma is tied to Ouroboros, and the motivations of Ouroboros have not changed. In terms of Logos, we see that N still wields his own version of the Sword of the End in the base game, the same one as the prequel. Mobius continues to be consistently associated with the color purple as well, so it's safe to assume that not much has changed on that end either. The idea of the Endless Now fundamentally takes advantage of the way Origin, and by extension Ontos, functions. Similar to Xenoblade 1, the division creates stagnation as well as divided input that the Arbiter cannot act upon. So long as the philosophy behind Mobius continues to exist as the Logos input, the cycle cannot be broken. But that's only so long as that input continues. A certain scene towards the end of Xenoblade 3, one that may not have seemed like such a huge deal at the time, changes everything. Late into the Origin dungeon, the party encounters N. It is in this scene that for the first time, Noah and Mio are actually able to get through to him, resulting in N fusing back together with Noah. Future Redeemed shows us how much bigger this moment was than just a send-off for Noah's character. Again, Noah, the leader of the Ouroboros group, whose sword contains Pneuma, and N, the most active, powerful Mobius member, whose sword contains Logos, fused together. This means that Pneuma and Logos are united under the same view, which is that they seek to move on from the now and accept the uncertainty of the future. The input is consistent and complete for the first time since Origin was created. I said earlier that in Xenoblade 1, as soon as Ontos obtained proper input from figures reflecting Pneuma and Logos, Ontos was able to act according to their choice and bring the world to its next stage. This is exactly what occurs in Xenoblade 3 as well. Reflecting both Pneuma and Logos, as well as Ouroboros and Mobius, Noah is able to offer his decision for the world's future. And for the first time, Origin does not fail to activate, as Ontos at last has consistent data to work with. The worlds separate, and this time properly come together, creating a world where everyone can actually live hand in hand, embracing life and moving towards the future. It was through the Trinity processor that any of these worlds existed to begin with, through the Trinity processor that the power distributions of these worlds were decided, and finally, through the Trinity processor that the Klaus Trilogy has been brought to its conclusion. As Alvis once said,
I am Monado. I was here at the beginning, and I will proclaim the end.
Thanks so much for watching. I've been writing analysis content for a while, but this was my first time translating that into a video essay. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and any support would be vastly appreciated. I have some plans to work on an overall design and thematic analysis of Xenoblade 1, as well as some individual Xenoblade character analysis. If any of these sound interesting to you, be sure to keep up. That said, I hope everyone is having a good day. Take care, and farewell.